In the hospital, chaplains are special people. While doctors and nurses are attending to your body, chaplains attend to your heart and soul. They provide special and sacred rites like communion and last rites, and they'll pray with you. Or if you just need to talk, they'll lend a listening ear. Now, I didn't intend to be a bad chaplain. I was in school and seminary to become a pastor, and I was getting straight A's, and I had seen plenty of TV hospital dramas. But I wasn't prepared for having to be with people in the most physically challenging crises of their lives every day, every hour of my work week. I met people who had fallen off buildings and snapped their brainstem. I met people who got T-boned on date night and lost their spleen and their husband. I met people who had gotten pushed out of wheelchairs and were never able to talk again. I had to spend 500 hours with people like this in the ICU, and I just didn't have the toolbox to do it. There was this one night I was on call, and I went to go visit an elderly man who was having his kidney removed the next day. I walked into his room and I introduced myself, and he said, "You're the chaplain? Can I pray for you?" I felt so vulnerable in that moment. It must have been that I was carrying the grief and the tragedy of the people I had met, and he could see it on my face. I said, "Yes, you can pray for me." And hot, wet tears came out of my eyes and came down my cheeks, and I was so embarrassed. I wanted to just run away. Here, I thought it was one of the worst nights of his life, and it wound up being one of the worst of mine. I had 400 hours to go. I cried a lot with people, and halfway through my training, the supervisors called me in for a private meeting. They said, "We know you need this program to graduate, but I want you to know it's okay if you quit. We don't think you're going to be successful." I had 242 hours to go, and I was not going to start over. The next Monday, I went into rounds in the ICU. They reported, the patient, Keisha, 25, high school volleyball coach, catastrophic stroke. Against our better judgment, the family has decided to keep her on life support. I didn't think the attending doctor really knew who I was, but he took 2 steps toward me in a group of 15 people, and he pointed right in my face, and he said, "Don't go praying up any hope in that room." I was so surprised, I didn't say anything. In the medical staff, I was the least valuable member of the team, and now I was the most helpless, because I wasn't allowed to pray and I wasn't allowed to have any hope. On Monday and Tuesday that week, I went past Keisha's room, but the doctors were always in there and they were busy all the time. I was relieved that I didn't have to show up as a hopeless person. On Wednesday and Thursday, the real chaplains went in, and honestly, I was relieved. On Friday, my supervisor said, "You should get in there. It's going to be a good learning experience for you." So on my way home, I did one last pass through the ICU, and the only person who could possibly be Keisha's mom is standing in the door frame, like forlorn and lost and kind of looking urgent, and she looks me in the eye. Whew. And we share this moment of human connection. And I have enough training to know that she needs someone like me to go and be with her. And I have enough training to know that Keisha's situation is truly hopeless. So I take a deep breath and I go into the room I introduced myself. I'm the chaplain, and her husband, Keisha's husband, is sitting in the corner, and he's just doom scrolling on his phone. And I asked the mom, well, why don't you tell me what's been going on? And she says, well, last Friday at school, when Keisha had her catastrophic stroke, there was an EMS team teaching CPR in the high school health class. And so when they called 911, there was already a medical team right there on site. And so within minutes, she had exactly the services that she needed so that she didn't die right there. She said, it was a godsend. A few minutes later, a nurse walks in, and she's going to perform a reflex response test. She pinches Keisha's arm and pokes at her. She opens up her eyelids and flashes a flashlight in her eyes. Pupils responsive. She works her way down her body, and she pulls out one of those little rubber mallets that are shaped like a triangle. She knocks it on Keisha's knee. No reflex. She works her way down her legs to her toes, and when she gets to her left toe, her big toe, she pinches it really hard and shakes it, and Keisha moves uncomfortably. 2 4s, she says, that's good. I knew that if Keisha had gotten 1s and 0s, that would indicate that she was brain dead. And I had heard in rounds on Friday morning that she still had 2 4s. So they were going to let her remain on life support through the weekend. Keisha was going to die on Monday. I was so sad inside, but I was perfectly numb on the outside. I had figured out how to keep my tears in at that point. I'd been there 45 minutes in the room, and there was really nothing else for me to do, and I needed to get home. Well, can I offer to pray for y'all? Would you like a prayer? And Keisha's mom said, oh, yes. We have had a chaplain in here every day this week, and not a single one of you have prayed for us. I made my face freeze. I blinked. Are you kidding me? Every day, members of our staff have been in here, and we have left this woman and her family feeling like we didn't care at all. We really let her down. That's just not right, because even when things are hopeless, you can talk to God. So, against my supervisor's better judgment, and like a rookie, I decided we were going to pray. I was just going to do one of my routine things. Nothing too hopeful, nothing that puts God in a bad situation, like, please, God, come fix her. Because if God didn't fix her, then God looks disinterested or useless or worse, too selfish to be bothered. I said, please draw closer, and if you're comfortable, you can place your hands on Keisha's arms. And I closed my eyes. Dear God, please be with Keisha. Please help her be comfortable. Please make the doctors and nurses attentive to her needs. I mumbled a few more sentences after that. Naive, risky, hopeful. Oh, damn it, I was hopeful. And her husband interrupted me. Hey, look! I opened my eyes, and Keisha's arm had floated up in the air like we were at a Christian revival or something. I had this effervescent feeling that I had never felt before coming up from my toes. It was joy through my body, and I felt myself lift off the ground. Oh my God, that's never happened to me before. Y'all, that is the most unprofessional thing that a chaplain can do. Rookie to the max. I felt so awkward. I was embarrassed, and definitely pastors shouldn't be swearing. And yet, together, the three of us had seen a miracle. The next Monday, when I came back to work, Keisha had been promoted out of the ICU into a floor where she could have a slightly less standard of care because she was healthier. And honestly, I had 200 more hours to go, and people needed hope and praying and stuff. And so I didn't bother to go visit Keisha again. I felt too awkward and embarrassed. But finally, when I only had 20 hours left to go, I was willing to risk looking unprofessional one more time, and I heard that it was Keisha's last day in the hospital. I went up to the room, and the family recognized me immediately. And Keisha was sitting in a chair upright with clothes on, ready to travel. Her husband said, "Hi, hey, look at this." And he poked her in the ribs really hard, and she let out this angry moan. Oh! And it made us laugh with joy. And we were completely hopeful that she was going to have a complete recovery. I was learning that being a chaplain is just about showing up, even when you're good or bad at it, because people need you to be with them when they're experiencing the hardest things of their life. And I think I wasn't going to be such a bad chaplain after all.